Unsurprisingly, the Nerd and Tie podcast is a part of the Nerd and Tie podcast network. For more podcasts from actual play to true crime to witchcraft, go to nerdandtie.com and find them all. Or join our Discord and talk with us like we're people or something by finding an invite at nerdandtie.com/Discord. Did you know you could sponsor Nerd and Tie? That's right. For $20, we'd say your name here. We'd give you a high five. We'd tell you how great you are. All you have to do is go to nerdandtie.com, click on the sponsor information, and follow the instructions. Instructions exist to help you and I. Or you can contribute to our legal fund by going to gofundme.com/nerdandtie. On this episode of Nerd and Tie, we're going to be talking about conventions and COVID safety again. MODOK premiered on Hulu, and we've all seen at least the first 3 episodes, so we're going to talk about that a bit. We're going to let Gen talk about Eurovision. Nick and Gen are going to let me talk about Army of the Dead, and of course, the Vomit Hat Steve Challenge. All this and whatever else we end up talking about on this episode of Nerd and Tie. Welcome to Nerd and Tie, the only podcast on the internet with a dress code. I am one of your hosts, Trey Dorn. Joining me, as always, are the wondiferous Nick Izumi.
Good morrow, friends.
And the ever-persevering and sometimes still here, Gen Proc.
Whoa.
It's been a month, guys.
Yep.
It definitely has been.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So here's something annoying. I have going through my head, from the first Venom movie, from the Eminem song, just this one part of the Eminem song from the end, just a Venom. Just going through my head.
Oh yeah.
Just every once in a while, just my brain goes Venom, and I'm like, thanks.
Venom.
I don't need this in my head.
Oh yeah, you do.
No, I don't. I mean, don't get me wrong. I loved that movie, and I'm excited for the sequel, even if they're annoyingly just going to put that in theaters and not on demand. But we've been spoiled this year with on-demand movies.
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh my god.
It's so nice. And I'm just saying, I'm fully stoked to, I'm fully vaccinated. Krista's fully vaccinated. We're going to go out to the drive-in a bunch this summer. I'm going to see Black Widow on a big screen, a giant screen. But, I for some reason I want that choice. If anything, that, it's movie theaters can survive as an experience, but I don't want to go unless because I'll tell you, Godzilla vs. Kong came out before I was vaccinated, right? So, or before I was fully vaccinated, and so I wasn't gonna go see that in the theater, but I really missed being at that was the first movie in the current legendary monster movies that I literally did not see at a drive-in movie theater. And it was a little disappointing to watch it on my TV. And so
I don't plan it that way, but the ones with Kong in them, I keep ending up only seeing on TV. I don't plan for it. It's just, in one case, I was super broke when Skull Island came out, and then there was, the literal plague when Godzilla Versus came out. So it's like, oh man.
Yeah. So, it's. I'm excited for to see movies big again. It's even that's the thing, is it's I like going to the drive-in and I don't even care if I'm excited about the movie or not. I wasn't excited about Venom the movie before I went and saw it, but I saw it at the drive-in and oh my god, I love that movie. I would have never given it a shot in regular theaters.
I had no intention of seeing Venom. A friend of mine from Northern Illinois drove up to Janesville that summer and forced me to see it.
Oh,
That's a true story.
Venom,
Or not
Venom.
summer, late fall. Anyway, the point is, my wife and by extension the car were not in the state of Wisconsin that weekend, and my friend drove up to Wisconsin specifically to force me to see it.
That is a good friend.
That's a good friend.
This is a very
Mhm.
good friend.
All right. So, unfortunately, we do have to move on to our first story here tonight. And it's we need to talk about conventions and COVID safety
Mhm.
again. Now, it's our stand here at Nerd and Tie that you probably should not go to conventions right now. If you're fully vaccinated, it might be okay, but, I prefer to exercise an abundance of caution. If you're fully vaccinated, it's probably fine, but
If you're fully vaccinated, you will likely be okay. No guarantee that it won't do something to someone else, though.
Right.
That's my take on
Right.
it.
So it's but there was a convention, and so the problem is that I haven't confirmed enough with this story to feel comfortable naming the convention. But I thought it was a big enough deal that I should bring it up because I think there's a question of ethics in con running that comes along with it. So there was a convention earlier this spring. It's been a little while since it happened. This convention. There was a leaked private conversation between one of the staff members and someone else. The one of the reasons why I'm not really able to confirm as much of this as I'd like, and which is why I'm not naming the convention involved, is because I have been unable to confirm the name of the staffer or the name of the person they were talking to. I have confirmed with the convention that this conversation was real, because I did reach out to them, hoping to get more information than I got. But this person, in a conversation a week after the convention, was telling a friend that they had tested positive for COVID.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And that they had thought it was like a reaction to the vaccine, but it turned out no, it was COVID. And they were going to isolate for 2 weeks and all that. But now, here's where we get into rumors and tales, which is why, again, we are not mentioning the name of the convention that was involved here, right? Because that would be irresponsible in case I'm wrong. Anyways, so this has been passed around some vendors, and a couple of vendors have since tested positive for COVID since this convention. And this is a convention that, in theory, had safety precautions in place and masks and all of that. The convention says that the volunteer in question, they refer to this person as a volunteer. Again, I can't confirm the name of the person. No one has given me the name of this person. But the convention confirmed that a volunteer contracted COVID. They say they claim they contracted COVID a week later from their place of employment. That's not the story that's being passed around by people, though, and I can say that immediately following the convention that a couple of vendors ended up testing positive. I know of at least two for a fact. Now, honestly, the convention has made no public statements. Like, the only reason why they said anything to me is because I reached out to them directly in a private message. Now, they have made no public statements about anybody having COVID at the convention. They have sent no warnings, because here's the thing. Even if this staffer didn't, there are vendors who are saying that they have tested positive for COVID since attending this convention, right? And they have
not great.
And the convention claims that it happened at this person's place of work, but they have no way to verify that. You can have this for a couple of weeks before you even know it, right? So the convention's claiming that it's possible that this particular staffer isn't the person who got people sick at the con, but it is possible that actually this person got sick at the con. And I'm going to tell you the reason why I'm not super trusting of everything that this convention says is because in their actual message to me, they said, after saying that everyone's safety was important, that this person contracted a week after at their place of employment, and due to HIPAA laws and the manner of which this information was obtained from a private chat which contains someone's personal health information, we can't speak further on the matter. Thank you for your inquiry, and if you'd like to... and then they talked about collaborating with us for a podcast. So, first off, that's not how HIPAA works.
That's not how HIPAA works.
That is definitely not how HIPAA works.
All right. So I am, and I can say this as a person who has worked in the health insurance industry for 12 years. That's not how HIPAA works. You are not. HIPAA only applies if to medical providers, insurance companies, and other such entities to design protect specific PHI and medical records. If HIPAA, by the way, if HIPAA applied to them, they wouldn't have been able to legally confirm to me that one of their people had COVID. Right?
Right.
So, duh. And so I said, the only way the HIPAA would apply is if they were literally providing him his insurance. They also said that it would violate the Privacy Act of 1974. The Privacy Act of 1974 only applies to federal agencies, not to anybody else. And the American Disabilities Act. This is not ADA related at all. And they I literally ended up writing them this multi-paragraph thing back explaining how wrong they were. I was I just need to explain to you how you're wrong. I'm not trying to get you to talk more about this. I just need to tell you you're wrong. Because and also they had Vic Mignogna as a guest. So
charming.
No. Don't like that.
So I'm just I don't I feel it's a responsible if you're a convention, right, and you have a volunteer or a staffer test positive for COVID a week after, you can't be sure that it came from their place of work, right? And if you've got other vendors, it is the responsibility of a convention. It is their duty to their attendees and vendors to inform them that something has happened. And it's frustrating that this organization hasn't, and that they have taken such a flippant response.
It's well, I mean, it's the whole thing. How do you even contact trace? It's part of why I'm so opposed to these things happening right now in the first place.
Exactly. Putting on a convention, especially now, this year.
Well, it's I think sometimes it can be done. BlurredCon, I think is doing it by requiring vaccinations for every single attendee.
Yeah.
And every single vendor and every that's the
appropriate way to do it for sure. If you're gonna do it.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got to know how many times have we said this? You go to a convention, you get the con plague. You get sick.
Yeah.
You have to understand the risks that you are inherently putting your attendees and your participators in.
Yeah.
It's a rough spot. And I mean, on one hand, I definitely get it, especially people whose primary bread and butter is, being a vendor. Yeah. This is... Some of them might feel they don't have a choice but to show up to these things. But when attendees and the runners are being this irresponsible, that could get them in even more trouble.
Yeah.
It's...
I mean, honestly, I'd be looking at my contract if I was some of these people, because it's... If, you have to ask yourself, is this a potential lawsuit?
Yeah.
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 like I'm sorry, but yeah, this is not something that you sneeze at. This is. I'm not saying it's impossible to run like a con in this, but you would need to be a lot more responsible, and it couldn't be like a hardcore party con. So, and frankly, maybe that is impossible because people are so hard up for conventions. It's going to be nuts for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I don't envy anyone who has to work security at con raves starting next year.
Oh my god.
Probably this year, but it's going to be gross.
Oh my
Bring
god.
a black light.
God.
Bring a black light. That's all I'm saying.
Oh god. It's so there's there's a small team unofficially called the No Sex Patrol at No Brand Con these days, whose job it is to make sure that the rave remains family friendly, not family making.
Mm-hmm.
If only we had those back in the day.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah. God, it's so gross.
It really, really is.
It's so yeah. I'm just gonna be glad that the hotel where we run No Brand Con has removed couches from certain areas, because even though it was a nice place to relax, it means I don't have to worry about things happening there at 2 a.m.
Gross.
It's so gross. You will find
extremely gross.
Look, it's gonna be like, honestly, like, well, it's gonna be the weirdest fucking thing. Pardon my language, because we're gonna have
pun intended.
Well, yeah, no, not pun accidental. Because you're gonna get there are two types of people right now: the people who have spent the last, like, year and whatever, like, not used to being around people anymore, and who are going to be like totally shell shocked and like overstressed and overstimulated when they end up in a room full of people. And then there are the people who are the opposite of that. And have just been like a coiled spring. That's the most non-grossed way I can say that. And they have been wound too tight. And it's just all, tension and release. And it's gonna be weird. It's gonna be so weird, y'all.
Okay, but can we talk about a different weird thing?
No. Yes, we can. Speaking of weird, MODOK premiered on Hulu. Now, Gen and I have both only gotten through the first 3 episodes. Have you watched the whole season yet, Nick?
No, I'm at, I think, episode 6.
Okay.
So I'm a little bit further along. And full disclosure, I'm a big... Okay, episode 7, excuse me. I'm a big Patton Oswalt fan. So when I heard Patton Oswalt was playing the second hardest to take seriously Marvel villain, for me anyway, I was pretty excited. I'm still not sure how 7 episodes in, I'm still not sure how I feel about the Robot Chicken animation style, but
I like it.
It made me laugh a few times. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will say, like, the performances in it are really good. Like,
they are. I'm definitely I am having a good time. God, I remember, like, I'm trying to remember the first time I encountered MODOK in the comics.
I knew it. Oh, I'm just confirming something.
I remember him. Here's the thing. Weird confession. I was always peripherally aware of MODOK because I was a Marvel kid. I read a lot of,
Yeah.
Marvel comics growing up. I watched the X-Men cartoon and the Spider-Man cartoon. Like, he showed up peripherally, but I think the first actual MODOK appears as a main character in this comic I ever read with him in it was, hilariously enough, one of his early Jack Kirby appearances when I was going through 60s Captain America. And he was still kind of a big deal. And, Jack Kirby wanted me straight-facedly to take this guy very seriously, which I still haven't been able to do. I'm sorry, Jack. Please forgive me.
I'm trying to remember if my first encounter was actually MODOK or if I encountered Modam first.
It's interesting because, like, the show's been getting kind of... It seems like a lot of places are kind of lambasting it, and I don't know. It feels a little unfair. I'm having fun with it.
No, it's really funny. It's really enjoyable.
Fun
yeah,
and funny. Yeah.
Who's not digging MODOK?
Basically half the internet.
Well, they're dumb.
Odd.
Yeah, let loose a little bit.
It's been I'll admit what is hilarious for me though is that I've also been watching the DuckTales reboot on and off, and MODOK's son Lou also plays Louie on the DuckTales reboot.
Yeah,
so
it's fantastic Ben Schwartz.
Yeah, Ben Schwartz.
It's a lot of Ben Schwartz.
They purposely put his character in a blue sweater because to reference like Louie and also to reference Sonic, and just pretty much how he's always playing characters in blue.
I can live with that. That's good. I like that. I don't know. I'm mostly I've been having a lot of fun with it. I'm looking forward to seeing more. There's a really good I'm trying to remember in those first 3 did you guys get to the bar with no name yet? Because that was probably one of the funnier
the 3 episodes I've seen the first 3. So the first episode, the introductory episode, the second episode is the time travel one, which has gotten third eye blind stuck in my head for days now. And then also the one where he takes his daughter to the conference.
Okay, yeah, it's the very next episode. There's a Hangover style episode where MODOK tries to throw a crew together from like F-list super villains, and it's a lot of fun. I really liked that episode.
Yeah, I really like the cast on this show is great. You've got Lucifer's Amy Garcia playing Jodie. You've got Melissa Fumero from Brooklyn Nine-Nine playing the daughter. We've got Ben Schwartz. John Hamm is Iron Man, just showing up. It's pretty great. And I know that I know Nathan Fillion is going to show up later in the season, and John Daly's playing Super Adaptoid. Ooh. Which, by the way, pulling out Super Adaptoid, but also turning him into a punchline, like instead of being the guy with all of the Avenger powers. Yeah. And instead he's just this sad robot.
Oh, is that the sad, he's the blender and the toaster?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because in the comics, he's basically Marvel's answer to Amazo, as in a robot that has the powers that can steal all the powers from everybody else.
Oh.
So.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. So I had to check because I was trying to remember it, and no, the first comic that I ever read that MODOK was in literally was his first appearance. It was Tales of Suspense 94, If This Be MODOK. It was a Captain America issue. So,
well, I always associate him with Captain America.
Yeah, that was a weird time for Captain America, because it was MODOK. it was the Red Skull or it was my main man Batroc the Leaper. 60s Cap was nuts.
Well, it's, I think, like, I mean, the first time I encountered Modoc was, like, in a 90s comic, so that's why I think. Like, it had to be late 80s, early 90s.
Like I said, I was always peripherally aware of him, but
Yeah.
I think the first comic I actually read where he was, like, a main focus was, hilariously enough, his first appearance, because
Well,
I was...
It's like, I'm trying to remember, like, what comic I was actually reading where I encountered, because I just have a couple of random Captain Americas and U.S. agents in my closet somewhere. Because I used to, there was a weird thing that they did at, I think it was actually at Walgreens, used to do, like, this, like, grab bag of, like, 3 random comics, and, like, it was blind, you couldn't see what they were. And it was just
you still see that sometimes.
Yeah, but
weirdly enough.
I mean, it was back when Walgreens used to carry comics.
Okay, yeah, that does date it.
Yeah. And so, you know, if it was on a week where I had my allowance and there wasn't a new issue of Batman out, I would go grab one of those sometimes and, you know, end up with 3 random things that I'd never read before. That's, you know, you used to be able to just, like, pick up a random issue of something and just, like, not have to, like, you could just jump in on random comics and you'd just have a full story there and you wouldn't have to worry about, like, collecting, like, the 6 other issues or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Not to get too far off track, but I gotta mention it because a few people were sharing this really god-awful article that I think Comic Book Resources shared this morning that was talking about how the manga Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba is selling better than American comics right now. And they were doing all this, like, just dunderheaded theorizing of why are these Japanese books selling so much better? And, like, the obvious answer is because it's easy to know where to start and end.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
do you start? Where do you start Demon Slayer? Demon Slayer Book 1. Where do you start Captain America? Frick if I know, and I'm the Captain America guy.
Well, here's the problem. Here's the problem with the way things were. It's like we have this weird. It used to be like you could just grab a random issue of something and jump in, and maybe you'd miss a couple of references, but if you started near the beginning of, you know, anything, like, you would just be able to catch up, right? Like, I started reading Amazing Spider-Man comics. Like, I had watched Spider-Man cartoons as a kid, and I just randomly started reading Spider-Man, and it happened to literally, you know, it happened to be the beginning of the Clone Saga, I think, was, like, what I had read a couple issues before, but I think that's when I started, like, seriously, like, reading every issue of Amazing Spider-Man. Can't remember, it was either Clone Saga or Maximum Carnage or something. It was the 90s. But you could just pick up the book, right?
Right.
And like the drawback to that kind of writing is everything returns to the status quo eventually, so other people can just pick up the book. But here's the problem with modern comics is that you have neither. It is both too complicated to jump in, but they're still determined to return to the status quo. So it's both confusing and there's no character development over time.
Yeah, so, like, even if there is a really cool shift in status quo, don't worry, it doesn't matter how good or cool it is, they're going to go back on it anyway.
Yeah.
So why even get invested?
Yeah.
And as someone who started collecting, like, later on in their life, like, I've just come to terms that my collection of comics is just kind of random. Like, here's this one, and then here's this one, and maybe if I get lucky, I'll find a consecutive one. And then I have 2 of the same, and it's like, oh.
So yeah, I'm enjoying MODOK. It's good.
Same.
It's a goofy comedy. And that's what you should expect because
it's super villain robot chicken.
Super villain family sitcom.
I really like it, and it makes me giggle.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've seen a lot of complaining, and I kind of don't get it. I think it's really charming and funny, and sometimes extremely gross, but in a good way.
Yeah. I mean, that's the advantage to being, claymation, though, is it can get gross.
True. Very true.
All right. So that's MODOK, everybody.
That's MODOK.
And
that's
now,
our MODOK.
And now, we again talk about Eurovision.
Okay, so Eurovision 2021 just happened. We just had the finale like a couple days ago. I've been following Eurovision for the past couple years. It's very fun. If you don't know what it is, it's a European song contest where each musical act is performing and they're representing a country. So it's all these countries competing with each other musically.
Yeah, and it's not like the singing competition you're used to. It's the groups, the singers, they actually So each country selects the act that they're going to put forward for Eurovision in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
Some do their own song contest. Sometimes they just pick someone, but they put up an entry, and this is the actual performer. And what's competing is not the performer, but what's competing is the song.
Yep. So each performer plays the same song for each.
Yeah.
However far they get.
Yeah. So, and look, there was a whole movie with Will Ferrell to explain this to you people.
Yeah. So go watch that.
It's the song, the original song, one of the original songs from that movie got nominated for an Oscar, and I think they got robbed. But
well, you would have appreciated it during the judging. There was a nod to the movie.
Yeah. Molly Sandon, who did Rachel McAdams' singing voice in that film, she's a powerhouse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the dude for Iceland who was
Dati Freyr?
No, actually.
Okay.
It was during the judging where they were giving out the judging points for each country. And they always are like, oh, it's this person from whatever country. And the person from whatever country is like, oh, and our country's 12 points go to these people.
Yeah, right.
For those who don't know, the points system and how the judging works is really complex and really crazy. It's really weird. But the Icelandic dude who was going to tell everyone who Iceland's judging we're going to give the 12 points to, he was just like, Iceland gives 12 points to yeah, ding dong. And it was a great little nod to the movie. So one of the beautiful things about Eurovision is it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's very fun. It's very lighthearted. It's also very flashy and sparkly and neon and flamboyant. And it's nuts. It's a wild ride, y'all.
Yeah. No. I've never actually I don't actually ever bother watching the actual competition because I don't really care who wins, but I will quite frequently go back and listen to songs from Eurovision afterwards.
Yep. And you can find the performances and the music videos for all the songs on YouTube.
Well, like many people in the United States, I was exposed to Eurovision at first through memes. With the Sunstroke Project song "Runaway," also known as the origin of the Epic Sax Guy meme.
Epic Sax Guy.
I mean, that's like a decade old.
And he's performed, I think, at least twice. And this year,
yeah, because
he was the dude who, yes, he's Moldova. Moldovan.
Well, yeah, they've competed more than once. Like I know that I've seen like another one of their entries from like yeah.
But Epic Sax Guy was the announcer for Moldova's judging points. So that was very good.
So like it's obviously like Eurovision didn't happen last year.
No.
And like which is too bad.
But they had like pretty much all the performances like picked out.
Right. No, all the songs were picked. Like they were ready.
All the songs were picked.
So it's like, I mean, that was the big thing last year was like Daði Freyr from Iceland was had one of the more favored songs last year with Think About Things. And unfortunately, I think it's disappointing that the Eurovision Song Contest didn't let people enter songs that were originally destined for the 2020 contest into this, because part of the rules of Eurovision is that the song has to have been written within a certain time period. So like, just so you don't get like people re-entering old songs. Or, you know, like here's a song that was a hit 20 years ago. We're going to enter that. No, it has to be like a new, fresh thing. And so Eurovision decided not to let those songs enter. And because Think About Things is a freaking masterpiece. But Iceland did send Daði Freyr again, and so with then they just like they didn't hold a contest. They were just like decided that they were going to send Daði Freyr no matter what. And I think he placed 4th.
He did. Yep,
he
4th.
Did, with 10 Years, which is a good song. It's not as good as Think About Things, but, you know, that's a once-in-a-career song. It's so, you know, it's... 10 Years is a good track. I'm not dissing it. I like it a lot. A fun thing, which is kind of I don't know if it's an intentional reference to the Eurovision movie or just that only so many people live in Iceland. But if you watch the music video for 10 Years, Dati and Gaknamagnan, the fictional band because the band that performs with him on stage is not a real band. It is just a bunch of his friends. Well, the backup singers are doing real backup singing. His sister, and then I forget the name of the other woman who's the other backup singer. But they have in the music video, Dathi is, you know, it's kind of like a giant, you know, robot versus kaiju fight in the thing, but they're in a Power Rangers-esque thing. Dathi Freyr is contacted by the quote-unquote mayor of Iceland, and the actor who plays the mayor of Iceland played the head of the song contest for Iceland in the Eurovision movie. And I honestly don't know if that's a reference or if it's just that there are only so many actors in Iceland.
Yeah, I don't know. Could be either.
Because Iceland is not a big country.
That's what they want you to think.
I mean, it's literally 356,991 people as of 2019.
Oh.
So just under 357,000 people. That is like, so like there are only so many actors in Iceland.
I literally only ever check in on Latvia because I have some pride in my heritage.
So who won Eurovision this year again?
So for the first time in 30 years, it's been 30 years since their previous win, Italy took this year's Eurovision. Let me find. I don't want to mess up. I don't want to mess. Maneskin won with the song Ziti e Boni.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't listened to that yet. I will have to do that.
I really, really like it. They were one of my favorites from the start, along with Ukraine, I really like Cyprus too. There were a bunch of them that I really, and of course Iceland, duh.
Yeah, the Ukraine
But
group is the same group that also was in 2020. Also would have been at, like, I haven't heard. I've listened to only part of Ukraine's 2021 song, the Goa, or however you pronounce that name. But I really like the song that group put out for Eurovision 2020. So I'm gonna have to. She's got such a really interesting voice.
I know. I really like their song for this year. It's called Shum, I believe.
Yeah, that is the. Yeah, I've only listened to part of it. I haven't gotten a chance to sit down and listen to the whole song yet. My playlists are gonna have to expand for and go through and find what and maybe some of these won't stick on a playlist, but something always does. Like to this day, it's been a few years since they ended it, but like Kino's Spirit in the Sky just goes through my head.
But yeah, I mean, this year was a very good year for Eurovision. We had the usual like crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Including something that it like is surprising everyone. Florida participated.
What?
How did Florida participate?
He was featured in a song for San Marino.
Oh, okay.
So it was really, really cool because I was watching the finale with my couple of friends who had not been following the thing like I was, and so like they had no idea.
Yeah.
And then like he comes out and they're just like, "Is that Florida? That can't be Florida. That's not Florida." And I'm just like, sure is.
Yeah. Oof. It's
very fun.
And so Italy won, which means that Italy's going to have to host it next year.
Exactly.
Because the winning country, the country that wins, then hosts the following, unless they're incapable of hosting it. It is true that like if a country can't do it, they can say no and someone else will host it. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be in Italy next year, which really makes no difference because to those of us here, because we're not going to go.
Nope, we're gonna watch it online. And the interesting thing this year is that it was streaming on Peacock.
Really?
Yeah. The semifinals and the grand final were all streamed on Peacock. So apparently that is the kind of official streaming service for Eurovision.
Yeah, I'm not going to use Peacock.
Yeah.
What does it say that that is the streaming service, the only place where I can watch AP Bio, and I still refuse to pay for it?
Yeah, pretty much.
I love AP Bio.
I was so disappointed when AP Bio became exclusive and you could only watch the first episode on a free account because like when Peacock first was announced, I was like, oh, it's not a big deal. If you've got a free account, you can just watch stuff with ads, and I'm willing to put in the effort for that. And, I really enjoyed watching the second Psych movie, and then I was like, oh, I'm not paying for this. Like, I'm paying for so much other stuff, Peacock, and also I can watch the regular NBC shows on Hulu. Because contractually you can't pull out of Hulu yet because of Comcast buying NBC Universal.
So you hide one of your best shows behind a paywall.
Yeah.
It's stupid. There's nothing smart about it. But you know what else is stupid?
The reason
starting your own separate streaming service and killing the only thing that made streaming services worthwhile.
Well, I will say, so the reason why that, I understand the reasoning that if you're launching a streaming service, you'd put AP Bio on it because it didn't get huge ratings, but it has a loyal fan base, and so those are the people who only are, in theory, willing to pay for a thing. But the problem is it's not enough of a value add, and so we'll just get sad that we can't watch the one show we like.
Yeah, because putting a show with a vocal but small cult following behind a paywall has always worked out well. That's why DC Nation is still a streaming service. Oh, right.
Yeah,
I
The
didn't even know that was
dumbest
a
possible
thing.
method.
but it
It
became worth
was.
it. Look, I accessed those DC shows. All became worth it once HBO Max came out because that was
Yeah,
actually worth it because you just pay the same amount that you used to pay for HBO.
but that's exactly the thing. HBO Max has enough content on it that warrants paying that monthly fee. DC's streaming service absolutely did not.
Yeah.
Like, hard did not. And this is coming from someone who thoroughly enjoys Young Justice, Doom Patrol, and that Swamp Thing show that was wrongfully canceled.
Yeah.
All of those were A plus TV. Still didn't make it worth signing up for the streaming service.
All right. So speaking of streaming services and
Uh,
moving us out of that rant, Nick again agreed to let me talk about Army of the Dead, which is a
Yeah.
movie that came out this last weekend on a streaming service, Netflix. Boom.
Hello, Zachary.
Yeah, it is directed by Zack Snyder. In many ways, it's the culmination of it's pretty much in many ways the movie that Zack Snyder wanted to make after the first after his remake of Dawn of the Dead. Not the first, definitely the second Dawn of the Dead, because it was the remake. And surprisingly, I got to tell you, it's a fun movie, guys. It's
Okay.
I mean, it's a really interesting mashup of a zombie movie and a heist movie. It's not in continuity with his previous zombie film. The setup for the movie,
Probably for the better.
the setup of the movie is that a small zombie apocalypse pretty much wiped out Las Vegas, but they contained it.
Ah.
And the U.S. government is planning on nuking Las Vegas. But Dave Bautista is hired by this casino owner who there is like $200 million in a vault in one of the casinos. And even though insurance has already paid out all the money for it, he hires Dave Bautista to put together a crew to rob his own vault in the middle of a zombie-infested Las Vegas before the nuke
That does
gets
sound
there.
fun.
Now, it is in many ways the spirit of most zombie movies, so don't get attached to any characters. Because 90% of the cast is not making it to the end of the movie. Just if you see them on screen, I bet you they're dead by the end of the film. But it's actually like genuinely entertaining. There are kind of two kinds of zombies in the city. There are like the standard slow-moving zombies, but the way the zombie outbreak starts is with a military experiment escaping, and kind of anyone who was turned by the original zombie, like the military experiment, those are smart, fast zombies.
Oh.
They kind of have their own society, and so it's nice and complicated and dangerous and fun. And there's a zombie tiger.
Ooh.
Yeah. So it's genuinely actually a pretty entertaining zombie flick. And the way it's set up, there's not really any time for Zack Snyder's politics to get involved.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a very important thing, because that's usually my sticking point with the guy.
Yeah, it's there's not really any and Randy in politics in here at all. I mean, just besides the fact that the characters are trying to get rich themselves, but that's like normal greed, it's like they're hired to do a job. But so it's really fun. An interesting thing about this movie is that one of the cast members of the film is Tig Notaro. Tig Notaro, who you might know her from her successful stand-up career or being on Star Trek Discovery as one of the best characters in Star Trek.
Agreed.
Like, I'm sorry, like it's between Tig Notaro's character, whose name is Jet, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I love Tig Notaro as but like between Tig Notaro and Mary Wiseman's Tilly, like just Discovery knocks it out of the park. But anyways, so Tig Notaro's in the movie as this helicopter pilot, and she's in all of these scenes, right? And she shares all of the screen time with Dave Bautista. Dave Bautista's never met Tig Notaro.
Oh my God.
And you might be wondering, how did they share all these scenes? Because originally, Tig Notaro's character was played by Chris D'Elia. Chris D'Elia, who of course has had quite a few allegations against him, just sexual harassment, sexual assault, things like that. So they digitally removed Chris D'Elia from the film and inserted Tig Notaro.
Wow.
And she did all of her scenes with an acting coach on green screen where they matched the lighting and you cannot tell.
Wow.
I'm starting to come around on this Snyder guy. I'm not gonna lie. Don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna start retroactively calling his just god awful filmography not hot garbage.
Oh no, he's made bad movies.
Is.
It's I believe that Army of the Dead is the best film that Zack Snyder has ever made.
Okay.
I argue that Army of the Dead is the best movie that Zack Snyder ever made, and I think that. But to be fair, I thought that Dawn of the Dead previously was probably the best movie he'd made. I never saw the Owls of Ga'Hoole movie, so I can't,
I love the Owl movie. I love. I wish it wasn't so long, but I sincerely enjoyed Justice League. Like, I completely, sincerely enjoyed that movie. And yeah, I
thought it was okay. I
really
enjoyed it, but I wouldn't go so far as to call it good.
Maybe it's the fact that I watched it over the course of like 3 weeks. I didn't really.
I made it through the whole thing in. We took breaks while watching it, but we watched it all at once. I think purely so I could talk about it on the show. Man, it's so Army of the Dead is actually surprisingly good.
Okay.
And it's it's sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's dark. It's it's very tropey, but it's fun tropey. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good.
So,
Very nice.
Make of that what you will, my friends. Army of the Dead. It's definitely definitely worth watching since you've already paid for the Netflix subscription.
Yep.
Oh, that's fair.
Like, it's, what I mean? It's like, I wouldn't say that it's much better than Bright, but I enjoyed Bright and I didn't pay extra money for it. Orc Cop. Hey, if there had been no Bright, there might not be a Stormwood and Associates.
That's true.
That makes me feel dirty.
I still wanted to do an actual play show before I watched Bright, but it might have just been like a standard action movie straight game and not the magic and fantasy elements of Stormwood.
Mm-hmm.
It's a crazy world, man. It's a crazy world.
Go listen
Not
to
crazy
Stormwood.
enough. Keep driving. Oh. But yeah, go listen to Stormwood. It's really funny.
Yeah, we're getting into some interesting hijinks lately.
Yeah, I think the most recent episode was the close of the vampire story.
Yeah. Which turns out much different.
Okay, so that was such a weird way for that story to go. I kept because dice rolls, and then you guys it kept it kept almost becoming a fight and then never getting there.
We just wouldn't let it turn into a fight scene. It was great.
It's because I didn't want to make them fully evil vampires. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I wanted fun vampires.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you guys went and got to know them. Lunatics.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
And if you're interested in how we get to know some vampires, go listen to Stormwood and Associates. It's very fun.
Morris
and
by
Associates. That's good.
All right. Oh man, I can't wait till they start hearing the next arc. Which I don't know how it's going to end because we haven't recorded the end of that arc yet. All right.
The joy of actual play.
So, with that, I think it's time to move on to the Vomit Hat Steve challenge. All right, so for those of you who aren't aware, if this is your first time taking the Nerd and Tie podcast ride, the Vomit Hat Steve challenge is the part of the show where I read a line out of a book, and the challenge to you, the listener, is to guess what the book is. If you guess correctly, you get included in the Hall of Awesome. The benefits of the Hall of Awesome are as follows. 1, we put your name on a secret page on the website. I say secret. It's not secret. It's just hard to find. But it's there. We put your name on the website. 2, I read your name aloud every episode. 3, we'll give your mom a high five. We're not going to tell you when we do it. It'll just have happened sometime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You don't know. All right. Let me make sure I feel a cough coming out, so I don't want to start reading the names and then cough. All right, I think I'm clear. All right, so the following people are currently in the Hall of Awesome. They are Arkham Zero, Rena Innocenti, Cheesy McDamio, Krista, Slither Shameless Otaku, The Random Ramblings Van, Core Fan, Capito, Chris Graham, Lillisaurus, Paper Godzilla, Cabsy, The Minnesota Librarian, Sean Orange, Keith Shizuo, Sakura Sunset, Joel Kreisman, Patrick Delahanty, Wonderland Hearts, and Megsy Sass Council. Boom. And your line for this episode is... Oh boy, I'm not reading that line. All right, well, give me a different one. This was the first and last time I was bullied in middle school. It was also the first and last time I bullied anybody else. If you know what book that's from, go to nerdandtie.com/contact, click on the Form Me Forum, and tell us, of course, your name too. Or if you have any other things, we also often will do a mailbag segment at this part of the show. And
this is where I'd open my mailbag if I had one.
So, if you have anything you want to tell us, your hopes, your dreams, your thoughts on Army of the Dead, on MODOK, on Eurovision, on anything we talked about or anything you hope we talk about in the future, go to nerdandtie.com/contact, fill out the form, and tell us, because we want to know what you're thinking. We need to know what you're thinking. Somewhere deep down, we've always known what you're thinking.
I can read your mind.
Really?
No.
Oh.
No, God, no. I wouldn't want to do that. It'd just be this... I feel like for most people, it would just be this endless stream of just bad opinions and pornography. And frankly, I already have Twitter for that.
Now I'm wondering what's going on in your head. Yikes. All right, so with that, it's probably time to wrap up the show. I'm Trey Dorn.
I'm Nick Izumi.
And I'm Ged Proc.
And remember, you can subscribe to this show on iTunes. I guess it's called Apple Podcasts now. I keep calling it iTunes. But Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Podbean, anywhere else that podcasts are sold. Spotify. Spotify's a thing. We're on that. Subscribe to the show. If you're on that, things like Apple Podcasts with rate and reviewing, please go rate and review the show. That'll help the show in the algorithm rhythms and move us on up in the world of podcasting. And we'd be so thankful to you, man.
Best thing you can do for us.
Remember, if you want to support the show financially, you can either sponsor an episode by going to sponsor our shows link at nerdandtie.com, or you can support our legal fund at gofundme.com/nerdandtie, or you can support us individually. I have a Patreon at patreon.com/TRAEGORN. Nick's got a Patreon at patreon.com/nickazumi, and Gen's got stuff for sale on the internet under Ocelot Dude Designs. What do you have on sale right now in your store?
Well, I most recently made some pillows with mushrooms on them. So if you would like a mushroom pillow made by me, check out the Etsy store, Ocelot Dude Designs.
All right, and remember, we are a part of the Nerd and Tie Podcast Network. There are a lot of other great shows on the Nerd and Tie Podcast Network. Like, which one should I promote this time, guys? Let's say... Let's Be Legendary is a weekly actual play show set in a Weird West setting using D&D 5e. It's a fun show. You should listen to that. Or if you want other actual play shows, you can listen to The Meat Grinder, a limited actual play series, a 9-episode actual play series starring all of us on this show, along with Kyle from Stormwood and Associates, and a couple other people, Scott Logan and Krista, who join us as additional players. The Meat Grinder, a lot of people die. A lot of people die. I don't think anyone died in the most recent episode, but a lot of people die in that show.
Shocking.
It's on purpose. Or if you want some, characters who actually stick around for multiple episodes and seasons, Stormwood and Associates has been going on for a couple of years, and that stars all of us and, Kyle Johnson. And, we rotate GM seats, so while I'm running the main story arc, that we have fun side stories GM'd by the other players on the show. And it's really fun and neat, and you can find all these shows at nerdandtie.com. Because, in your heart, in your soul, in the places that you are at night when you don't know where you are, who you are, what is going on, what is behind that red door, that glossy metal red door that you don't remember being there. You don't remember that door ever being there. How is that door there now? Where does it lead to? You must know. You must find out. You must turn that doorknob and open the door to possibilities within your mind, within your heart, and take that bold step into the unknowing nothingness that is the madness of the universe.
Also, if you could get me some of those sharp cheddar string cheeses while you're in there, that'd be cool.
Word. And then, later on, we'll digitally replace you with Tig Notaro.
No!
Nick, say your catchphrase.
I'll keep on spocking in the free world.
Yeah. Because if you don't, someone else will.
Bum, bum, bum.